So, I told Sky that I will just listen to you and listen to your questions because I am a generation away from you and I might give a talk that is good for my generation. So I'd like to take this opportunity. You can ask me any question, even outside the exercise that we have been through. Any question, and I promise you I will not get angry. Personal about you, personal about me, or whatever. Angry questions, questions of the enemy, you can ask me and I promise to answer. Sige. Wala. Gusto niya kumain eh. Spider bulok.
Did you fall in love?
With someone?
Did I fall in love? Many times.
Someone?
Of course. I entered the seminary when I was 16 years old. But I can tell you that after I entered the seminary, I have been faithful to my vocation. I never had a girlfriend. But before I entered the seminary, I went to a boys' school. So we had interactions also with other girls' schools, and we had some close girlfriends also. Pero I have not gotten in touch with them since I became a priest. Although they have tried to reach me. But yeah, and I accommodated them. I have talked to them. They are now married. I think it's part of normal growth to be able to carry a relationship with anyone, with everyone. And that I am a celibate priest does not mean I should not have any woman friends. Because the test of celibacy is I can have friends who are women, friends who are girls. They respect me, and I respect their being married or single also. Because if I do not have any experience of loving another woman, I would be what Nestle calls frozen delights. And I don't like to be that. So I get my warmth from friendships with people, and the friendships with men and women. They're not girlfriends, but they are close friends. And we understand that I am committed, she is committed, but we help each other in our vocations. So I had one very close friend when I was in high school, and when I told her I was entering the seminary, she cried. And she said, "Why are you doing this to me?" So I said, "I am not doing this to you, I'm doing this for God." So that was one particularly close friend. And she lives in the States now. She has 2 children. I know her husband. We know each other. And we look at that part of our lives as an important episode that her husband respects, and I treasure also. But she's not very pretty anymore. So maybe let's go that we didn't get married. Sabi ko, kung alam kong magkakaganyan to, talagang hindi ko siya tuloyan. Sige, another question. Yeah.
How do you define love?
How do I define love? You look at Jesus at the cross. That's the definition of love. Because love is too much to be contained in a definition of words. In the first place, love is not just a word. It is a whole life. And Jesus on the cross is the perfect symbol of love. That is why I posted on Facebook that the perfect symbol of love is not Cupid with his arrow, but Christ on the cross, saying, there's no greater love than to die for your friends. You are having a follow-up question.
Yes, Bishop Barrett told us that the definition of love is to will the good of the other. Can the word love or that definition exist without love?
Can the definition to will the good of the other is a philosophical definition of love? As you can see, God is not even in that definition. Can we love without God? Maybe I'll put it this way. Maybe you're not aware of God, but it is not possible to love without God. Even if you do not accept God, and even if you have not encountered God intimately, when you are in a loving situation, God always puts Himself there, even if you do not know, even if you don't recognize. So God cannot be absent where love is.
Is there any instance, to go to personal question on you, is there any instance in your life where the mysteries of your life or your future affected how you love in general?
Okay, there are events.
Mysteries, yeah, any mysteries in your life that affected the way you love?
What do you mean mysteries?
Uncertainties.
Uncertainties.
Like that. Uncertainties in life.
Yes. In fact, those uncertainties of life purify your love and move your love closer to the ideal of Jesus' love. Mysteries in my life. After college, studying philosophy for 4 years, I was told by the seminary rector that I was to leave the seminary, and it was not a probation, it was expulsion. They did not want me to be a priest because the seminary rector said, if you become a priest, you'll be a liability to the church.
What? Hindi ko mag-gets.
So, and I said, why? And he said, because you're rebellious. You have a rebellious streak. You're disobedient. So, guess what I said? I'm not! So, the rector said, out. I said, this is the first time you tell me about this. And I asked for a reconsideration. So, I was not allowed to go home for the summer vacation. and I was exiled, in quotation marks, to an island in the middle of Laguna de Bay, Talim Island. I stayed there for almost 2 months. I was very insecure because the poor people whom I met there knew I was a seminarian. And when they asked me, kailan ka magiging valid? I could not answer because I wasn't even sure whether I could return. So I stayed there for 2 months. After staying there for 2 months, I went back to the rector and I said, nagawa ko na po, pwede na ba ako bumalik? And he turned to his typewriter, typed a letter admitting me to the seminary for the next school year. That was a mystery in my life. But it also helped me to understand that my vocation as a priest is not because I am worthy or I passed the exams. It is really our Diyos. So it has changed my attitude. It has also helped me to become more compassionate with seminarians, with priests who are struggling with so many difficulties in their lives. Maybe another mystery in my life is being assigned as secretary of Cardinal Sin. When Cardinal Sin told me, gave a bear hug, and said, "Where are you assigned?" I said, "I'm in the seminary and teaching." Maybe my secretary, huh? So I looked at him. I did not say a word. Maybe my face was so transparent. And he said to me, "It's all right, I understand, it's all right." The following day, I was at breakfast. The rector of the seminary went to my seat and said, "Were you at the Manila Cathedral yesterday?" I said, "Yes." "You refused an assignment from the Archbishop of Manila?" I said, "Hindi ako sumagot eh." Sabi niya, "You're not even a priest and you're refusing an assignment? You might not see ordination." So he apologized. So I wrote a letter. I said, "I did not mean to disobey, but whatever you say is the will of God for me. I am sorry if I offended you in any way." After 3 days, I got a letter from him. It said, "Thank you for accepting the appointment. You are now my secretary." So I went to him and I said, "What do you want me to do?" So I need somebody in the office. You know, I was struggling. I was struggling because my co-seminarians who were priests were talking about baptizing 50 to 100 babies every Sunday. Ako, 30 years ago, we had no computers. I did my office work with pen and scratch paper, and there was the typewriter with the typewriter ribbon. And I was facing the wall because that was the table given to me in the office. I was struggling with it because I said to myself, I studied for 9 years in the seminary and this is what I get. I just want to be with people. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to be with people. I cannot see myself as a priest in an office. So, after that, I talked to my Archbishop, Cardinal Sin, and then he said to me, maybe 1 or 2 years, then you can go for further studies and then you can do whatever you like. After 2 years, Bishop Buhain, who was one of the auxiliary bishops of Manila, brought in a scholarship from New York. And I was one of the members of the board. Sabi nominate Bishop sa akin, I'll propose you to go to New York. Before the meeting, the board was there, Cardinal Sin was out, he called for me. Gerhard again said, there's a scholarship for New York. So I looked at him, and I said, Bishop Ted will nominate you. I smiled, and he said, you don't like to study, okay? So we went to the meeting room. After all the agenda, Bishop Wine said, we have a scholarship for pastoral in New York, and full scholarship including travel expenses and board and lodging. And the Cardinal said, do you have any nominee? The Bishop said, so. Cardinal said, so is here, you can ask him. I was torn, because if I said yes, I would offend him. If I said no, I would be lying. So I said, that depends on all of you. And Cardinal said, he doesn't lie. You speak about mysteries of life. These mysteries of disappointments, frustrations, shape my understanding that my life as a priest should be a life of sacrifice. That even if I am in the office, if I live my priesthood with much sacrifice, I'm truly a priest. On the other hand, if I might be in the parish, meeting lots of people, but if I lose my spirit of sacrifice as a priest, I am not a priest. I'm a hireling. I'm a paid employee. I should not be that. So, that's another mystery of life. It was an extended mystery. And I had to do my master's, writing my thesis from 6 o'clock in the evening until 9 o'clock in the evening, every day. Because my Archbishop would not allow me to miss the appointments, the duties for the day. So I did my master's, writing my thesis. It's a matter of discipline from 6 to 9 p.m. And it was done. What should have been 2 years took 18 years. I was his secretary for 15 years. I was his auxiliary bishop for 18 years. But he did not like me to be out of the work of secretary. So until I left Manila for Bataan, I was still his secretary. Mystery of life. But it has shaped my attitude about ministry, about my vocation. Yeah.
Why did you choose this vocation?
Why did I choose this vocation? You know, when I was in high school, my favorite movie star was Bruce Lee. And I had really fondness for Bruce Lee. And not only his movies, but also his fightings and pictures. I was in high school. I collected, we had no computers. We had no CD. We had no digital cams. We only had paper and books. So I'd collect Bruce Lee albums, I'd collect Bruce Lee clippings and put them together and had fondness for Bruce Lee. When I was in high school, Bruce Lee died. And I came across his last meditation before he died. And Bruce Lee, before he died, said, "The cup realizes itself only by being empty." I was disturbed. I got 0 in quizzes. I was distracted in the recitation. And I was called to the principal's office. The principal said, Villegas, you were running for honors. I said, thank you, sir. Did you hear the verb? I said, where? At the rate you're going to repeat high school. What's going on? Wala, bumagsak ka sa quiz. Wala. Tulala ka daw sa recitation. Sabi sa akin ng principal, nagdadrugs ka? Sabi ko, nandito. May girlfriend ka? Sabi ko, wala po. Sinungaling. Sabi niya, bakit? Sabi ko, pinipilit niya ako. Sabi ko, napatay ko kasi si Bruce. Sabi ng principal, so? Pinipilit niya ako. I looked at him straight in the eye and said, sir, the cup realizes itself. Sabi ng principal, ha? Sir, sabi ni Bruce Lee, the cup realizes itself only by being empty. And, parang, sir, I want to die. I want to die like Bruce Lee. Sabi niya, ganon. Sige. Huwag ka mag-apply sa college. I'll bring you to a college where you can die. So I took the exams at San Carlos Seminary. I passed the exams. When I entered San Carlos Seminary, I had no Bible. I had my Bruce Lee album. That was my possession, 16 years old. And when I entered the seminary, I realized that, to my shame, that Bruce Lee was an original after all, because 2,000 years ago, Jesus already said, if the seed dies, it bears fruit. You know, in my first retreat in San Carlos Seminary, very bold, very daring, very adventurous, I burned my Bruce Lee album. And then, I started to study the Bible, study God, pray, and now I'm a priest. So, as you can see, God called me through Bruce Lee. God called me through maybe an unbeliever. Bruce Lee did not believe in Jesus Christ. But God used him to touch me and tell me, come follow me. So that's my vocation. I was touched by Bruce Lee's call to life.
Do you still like Bruce?
Yes. But, you know, in the seminary, you are really shaken with your attachments, with your values, even with your habits and hobbies. I will not do that if I am a seminary rector now. But when we were seminarians, they kept on pounding on me that Bruce Lee is an attachment and you have to let go. So I let go. You know, when I was in high school, waiting for pizza to be put on the table, di ba sa Shakey's, I don't know now, but Shakey's in those days, ang placemat was paper. In the short time waiting for Shakey's pizza to be delivered on our table, I'd be able to write some stanzas of poems, keeping myself busy, looking at people, making fun of people, but in poem. Okay? Nanginginis ako, nanginsulto ako, nagsusulat ako, pero nakaasar ako dito. And that was my relaxation. In the seminary, I had to let go of that. It was a purification of your attachments, of your values, so that you can be more available for Jesus. And that's how I purified my relationship with Bruce Lee. I still love him. If you go to my room, he still has a picture there. And I still keep pirated DVDs of him. But it's now a different kind of relationship. Bruce is not that romantic. That is. Sige na, kain na kayo. You can ask me questions.
I have a question po regarding what is spiritual dryness talaga? Parang, ano yung talagang pinaka-main na nangyayari sa'yo when you go through it, and have you been through it, and what did you do about it?
You look at spiritual life as steps leading to the second floor. So, the first step in spiritual life, you pray, you feel nice, you feel happy, you feel at peace, and you look forward to the next period of prayer. God gives you that consolation. And then, after some time, maybe months, maybe a few years even, the bubbling feeling is lost, the nice feeling is gone, and your feet feel like they have bled, and going to church becomes so troublesome, becomes so challenging. So, in the steps that I'd like you to imagine, you are no longer in step 1. You are here, connecting you to step 2. If you still go without the feelings, if you still go without the feelings of peace, feelings of contentment, feelings of certainty, you would be able to go to the next stage of prayer, which is no longer a stage of feelings, but a stage of will. Meaning to say, I go to prayer, I go to Mass, I meet people in a prayer meeting, not because I feel good, but because this is an act of love for God. The feelings may be gone, and yet you are at peace with what you're doing because this is an act of the will, and you're saying, I do this not because I get rewarded. I do this because I want to show my friend that I love him. You follow? And then that act of the will is tested again. The test of the act of the will comes when decided ka namang maging mabuti, decided ka namang maging friend, decided ka namang maging faithful, even if the feelings are gone. But why is it that so many people are opposing me? So many people are suspecting me. So many people I have done good are ignoring me. Why are they doing this to me? And then you say to God, is this the way you deal with your friends? I have gone to Mass every Sunday, I have prayed to you every day, and I don't get any feeling. Wala na nga akong reward. Pinagbibintangan pa ako. Wala na nga akong reward with a nice feeling. And what happens to me is, I feel I'm alone. I feel I'm persecuted. I feel I'm misunderstood. What is this? If you keep on praying, even if you reach a situation, God is going to lead you to a higher form of prayer, which says, I can find you not in my feelings, not in my decision, not even in in a life that is consoling, I can find you even in the midst of my dryness. And then you have reached a different kind of prayer. Because that kind of prayer does not seek consolation. That kind of prayer actually is like cactus. You plant it on sand without any fertilizer, and yet it still grows. Why? Because it was meant to grow in the midst of dryness. So, that is life. Some people do not reach that stage because we can also do this. You're on the level of feelings. The feelings are gone, and you stop. You fall out. After falling out, you return to prayer, and you feel good again. And then, after feeling good again, you feel dry, and then you fall out. And then you return to prayer. So you're actually between step 1 and step 0 all the time. Ang tawag doon, labas-pasok, akyat panaog, walang pinuntahan. But with the absence of nice feelings, with the will being tested, with persecution being the reward, and yet you still pray and cling to God and say, Lord, I believe you. Then you have reached, by God's grace, a stage of prayer not given to the others.
A follow-up question on that. Let's say, how do you console someone who experiences that kind of because she goes to prayer as her solace because everything else is very difficult, but that she finds it difficult to pray. She does not feel that it helps her concretely, but she still tries to do it. Even her times of prayer is interrupted by so many distractions, but she pursues to do that. But I don't know nga if she even went to the part of having the first part. But because she knows she needs it, parang that's all she has. How do you console that person? Because right now, it seems like yun na yung, while we're on earth, baka that's the best or the deepest level of prayer. But she's still yearning, of course, for that concrete resolution to her earthly experiences because that's very hard. So parang, how do you console her, that person?
You might find it difficult to understand me, but when you pray, you have to detach yourself from the so-called consolations of prayer. Many people are not able to grow in prayer because they seek the consolations of God rather than the God of consolations. And very often, the consolations can even be used by the devil to tempt you and say, the consolations are gone, so why don't you stop? So, if you ask me, what can I do to console my friend? I think you have to be by your friend and tell your friend, don't seek the consolations. Don't seek the rewards of prayer. Rather seek God. And if God shows His face as a crucified one, then do not be afraid. Just kiss Him. If God shows His face as a risen one, then do not be afraid. Just be with Him. So, it is not consolation that your friend needs. What your friend needs is the grace of God to be able to see the real reason why we pray. And it is not to receive something, but to give something to God.
I was just looking at the sign kasi behind the love, life, and other mysteries. And we all need we all need intimacy in our life. But today, intimacy is like media has been able to equate intimacy with sex. And but we also know that we need to live chaste lives. Maybe not the vow of celibacy like you, but at least kami ang calling sa amin as ladies to be chaste. How can we be chaste now and still fulfill our need for intimacy given the culture that we're living in?
We have pancake for breakfast, but sometimes we have sandwich for breakfast, right? I'd like to present to you friendship this way. The first level of friendship is acquaintance. Acquaintance is, you know her name, you know where she's from, you know from which chapter she's from, you know how old she is. Public information shared. Okay? That's a level of acquaintance. And you can have hundreds of acquaintances depending on your memory. You can remember names. Okay? The second level of friendship, the second level of relationship is friendship. Friendship meaning to say, you go beyond public information. And perhaps my definition of friendship is, do not walk behind me, I might not lead. Do not walk in front of me, I might not follow. Walk beside me and be my friend. On this second level, you have shared visions, you have shared likes, you have shared dislikes, and you go and you move for something deeper than an acquaintance. The third level of the third level of relationship is affection. Affection meaning to say, you feel for the person, you miss the person. Affection meaning to say, if this person dies, you will cry. If this person is around, you feel happy. Celibate or married or single, we feel that. I have many acquaintances, I have many friends. I also have people on the level of affection. On the level of intimacy, it is not just affection. The level of intimacy means that you can share a table, you can share dreams, intimate personal dreams. On the level of intimacy, maybe with the wife, maybe with the husband. But on me, on the level of intimacy, you know who is my most intimate person? My confessor. You know why? Because I confess to him. And after confessing to him, he confesses to me. Because we are both priests. That's our level of intimacy. He knows my private wretchedness, wickedness. He knows everything dirty about me. He knows my evil mind. He knows my evil heart. And then, after that, he still says to me, I absolve you. And then he comes, we exchange places, I put on a stole, and then I hear his sins. That is our intimacy. I say, the parable of the metaphor of a sandwich. The first level is acquaintance, which is a slice of sandwich. The second level, which is friendship, is perhaps mayonnaise. And then the third level of affection, is perhaps ham. And then the fourth level, which is a level of intimacy, is perhaps onions and lettuce or whatever. If you are married, you can seal the sandwich with another slice of bread, which is called sex, which is called love making, which is called expressing your love through your body. But if you are a celibate lover, are you prohibited from reaching the level of intimacy? No. But as a celibate lover, I have a slice of bread, I have mayo, I have ham, I have lettuce and onions, but I do not cover it with another slice of bread. It's called open sandwich. It is available for more ham, it is available for more lettuce, it is available for bacon, for eggs, and my sandwich is better than yours. Right? Because I can receive more ham, receive more bacon, receive more affection, and even go into intimacy. I must tell you that we have some celibate lovers who made mistakes on the level of friendship or the level of intimacy. And then they say, if I had controlled myself and I kept everybody as an acquaintance and controlled myself from affection, from friendship, affection to intimacy, I would not have fallen. So what happens? Everybody is my acquaintance and I only have a slice of bread. Is that good? No, it's not good. Because even the Lord said, man does not live on bread alone. You also need ham and veggies and mayo. It's not just the Word of God. So, whether celibate or married, all of us are called for friendship. And you would be less human if you had no friends. And I would be less a man if I have no intimate friends. The important thing to remember is I am celibate and that determines my loving. That determines my loving. So, I'm a celibate person, I can be intimate with another person, but not using my body. I can be intimate with this person, in fact, more valuable than body intimacy, because what I share with this person is what troubles my heart, what disturbs my soul, what makes me ugly before God, not even known by people. Perhaps even your husband or your wife would not even be able to know that. But this intimate friend of mine knows me inside out and loves me. So, now, the question needs to be asked. But I am married, but I'm attracted to another person. I have a friend, I am married, and then I have acquaintances, I have friends, I have affection for this person who is not my wife or husband, and I'm at the brink of expressing my body in order to express my love for this person who is not my spouse. What should I do? Don't stop loving. Return to your wife and husband and stay focused, because as my sandwich is open, so your sandwich is sealed by your commitment to your spouse. You might fall. Yes, you can fall. But there is no quota for falling. Even if you fall hundreds of times, the Lord, if you go to Him, will raise you up hundreds of times. So, the important thing to remember is just keep on trying. You might make a mistake, get attracted, mismanage your affections, and then get distracted, get addicted. Just keep on trying. If you are in a relationship that you think is threatening either your celibacy or your married commitment, please remember the 3 words. 3 letters. ACE. Number 1, is this relationship addictive? Meaning to say, it is making you irrational. Is this relationship addictive? Meaning to say, you already get sick or you experience withdrawal symptoms. C is competitive. Is this relationship competing with the other commitments? If this relationship is competing with my duty as a priest, if this relationship is competing with my duty as a husband and a father and a wife and a mother, the red sign is up. The third letter, ACE, is exploitative. This relationship exploits the other person. I just want sex. I just want money. I just want right connections so that I can go up my career. That is exploiting a relationship. It might not be sexual, it might not be adulterous, but it is exploitative. And it is not the friendship that God designed for us. So, is it addictive? Is it competitive? Is it exploitative? Whether single or celibate, married or not married, the questions are the same. And all of us are called to friendships. You can have many acquaintances, but you cannot have too many intimate friends. Because if you have too many intimate friends, there are only two possibilities. Number one, you don't know what intimacy is. You don't know what intimacy is. You don't know what you're talking about. Or, you really know what is intimacy, and you are really very intense intimately with these persons, and you will die very soon. Because the human body, and the human heart, and the human person cannot contain too many of these.
Father,
Yes.
as a single person, how do you balance yung as you want to have a career, you want to earn money, ganyan. At the same time, how do we live a life of sacrifice? Wala, in a way, di ba dapat you should also sacrifice something, gano'n. So how do we balance that level, that life? Parang, kailangan ba, hindi pa pwedeng maging mayaman?
I think the answer would vary from person to person. Because we have different life situations, and there is really no foolproof answer saying if you do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will have a balanced life. For example, not all people can pursue career and pursue family life, pursue social life, pursue religious life smoothly. They cannot do multitasking. They cannot do a multitasking lifestyle. That's possible. So it's really dependent on each one's need and each one's life situation. So how can you do that? If you are serious about spiritual life, there is only one thing that I have to tell you. There is no one serious about spiritual life who does not go to a spiritual guide. You always need that. A priest, a nun, somebody older than you, somebody whom you think is wiser than you, who can mirror things for you. So if you're asking me, how can I strike a balance between social, spiritual, career, and all the rest? I will not answer it for you now. Rather, I will say, please have a spiritual director, a spiritual mentor, a spiritual guide, who can mirror things for you and who can point out to you where you are strong and where you are weak. I suppose the question is based on wanting a spiritual life in your career, in your social life, and so on. But there can be no honest-to-goodness spiritual growth if you don't have somebody guiding you. Because nobody is a good judge in his own case. The good barber might cut his hair, The good doctor might treat himself, but for spiritual life, can you imagine a priest saying to himself, "May Almighty God bless you, the Father." For spiritual life, you always need to be blessed. For spiritual life, you always need guidance.
Father, Bishop, I have...
Yes, so magre-recite ka.
No, I have...
Stand in the corner.
I have a lot of gay friends, and I just I think I don't know if they know my position, but they know that I'm very religious and all that. So, and I once in a while drop little hints about, you know, when I talk to my friends about the situation, because my gay friends are active gay friends, so sometimes, you know, I drop little hints about celibacy and all that. But I don't know where, because I want to keep the relationship open so that someday, hopefully, they will be open to, you know, what the church says. I don't know where to draw the line between being a good friend, you know, enjoying time with them, and enjoying them for who they are, but without condoning, because they talk about their boyfriends, they talk about, let's say, if someone breaks up with a boyfriend, you cry with them, but, you know, I don't know how to formulate my question, but I guess that's it. How do I be a good friend, a friend who's able to bring God's love to my friends who are gay, but at the same time, not condone or not encourage them in the lifestyle that they're in?
This is returning to Sky's question of balance. Our Christian life is both being a minister of healing and a prophet of denunciation. If you become too interested, too focused on the ministry of healing and forget the truth, you will not be able to heal. You will misguide. On the other hand, if you are too concerned about the truth of the teachings, and there is not even affection or feeling or compassion whatsoever, you can land as brutal, thoughtless, uncaring. So you should always put yourself in the middle. When we were seminarians, the Latin word for that is virtus stat in medio. Virtue is in the middle. Virtue stands in the middle. If you become too weak and too accommodating, they might miss an opportunity of grace when you speak to them. If you become too thoughtless and judgmental, they might miss an opportunity to be challenged to rise up from where they are. So it's really a very ticklish situation, very sensitive situation. And I myself, talking about mysteries, that I also had my own transformations. I was a young priest in Manila, and I had a grand wedding at San Agustin. Grand in the sense that each of the ninangs had their couturiers with them, all gays. You know, it's grand because it is not just the costurera who attends to them, but the designers themselves. So I went to the reception, and after the reception, I was looking for my car, And the driver was not responding. And here was the whole barcada of gay couturiers, the dress designers, who saw me and said, "Father, you gave such a nice homily at the wedding. You don't have a car, we can bring you home." I said, "No, I have a car." But the car was not responding, and all the guys had gone, and I had no money. So I took the offer and said, "I think I will take your offer, I'll ride with you." So they took me to Villa San Miguel. It was already around 1 o'clock in the morning from the wedding reception. And when we got to Villa San Miguel, one of them said, "Father, this is my first time at Villa San Miguel. Won't you invite us for coffee?" Sabi ko, 1 o'clock in the morning. Kaming dalawang badingtong nandito. Baka mababa si Cardinal silang alauna ng madaling araw. Pakita ko dito, yari ako. So I allowed them. I served them coffee, I brewed coffee, I served them coffee. And then they said to me, "Father, can you give us a recollection?" Sabi ko, I showed them my book, appointment book. No cell phones then. Sabi ko, busy, full. Nakakita sila ng isang Saturday. Wala, oh! So, I wrote, but my evil, malicious mind said, 1 week before, I'll cancel this. I forgot. I forgot about the appointment. I forgot to cancel it. And I felt obliged to go. And then, I gave them a recollection. I presided at the Mass. And after the Mass, one of them took the microphone and said, "Father, thank you. Because it is so difficult to get a priest to give us a recollection." And thank you for daring to be photographed with us, daring to allow us to enter the Cardinal's house. We saw your discomfort. We saw the uneasiness in you. And we felt you didn't like to do this recollection, avoiding the date. But you dared. And he said to me, "Jesus touched lepers. Jesus touched sinful women. They are not here anymore. We are those lepers. We are the untouchables now. And you dare to touch us." They were very grateful, but I was feeling this small because they were giving me so much affirmation, when in my heart, I had already prejudged them. It was a mysterious encounter. And it also changed my life. It also changed my attitude. Sometimes we can be so judgmental with people who are different from the way we live. But I think, or rather, I am very sure that Jesus died and rose again from the dead for them also. So, be in the middle. Don't give up your witnessing to what is true and what is right. But don't let your witnessing to what is true and what is right dampen your charity. Because truth with charity is the one that saves. When you separate charity from truth, truth will only hurt. It might not be able to help. It might not be able to liberate. When you separate charity from truth, on the other hand, then it becomes an action without a backbone. they need each other. Okay na, last question. Hindi na ako, stick ang parents ko. Last question.
Yes.
Dana? Sige, last question.
Last na lang po. Any advice po on how to stay in love, not only in relationships, but in life, in God, and in all aspects? How to stay in love?
Pakainin mo muna bago.
Just keep giving. Just keep giving. If you stop giving, most likely you will stop loving. Love is a very abstract word. And the proof of love is giving. So, love will not always have feelings. And love will not always be rewarded. You might not be loved in return all the time. May pinaghuhugutan lang. But nevertheless, just keep on giving, because if you keep on giving, you will get used to a life of loving. And you will not fall out of love. Maybe it's hard, yes. Maybe it's too philosophical, I agree. But there is no other way but to keep on giving. You cannot love and be kuriko. They cannot go together. You cannot love and be stingy. In every love relationship, bawal ang kuriko. In every love relationship, the rule is always generosity.